Shout out, good morning, hello party people. So recently I have to give a shout out to Milan, who created the Nomad project that a lot of people are familiar with. Tap and go payments on the Hedera network, second place winner overall in the Hedera Hello Future Hackathon. And recently he was on a panel for the Linux Foundation alongside some other folks, including Wes Geisenberger from HBAR Foundation. And the panel was hosted by Lehman. So this is on the Linux Foundation's YouTube channel. I would say check it out. And especially for Milan's comments as well. I think it's really great. So huge shout out to Milan. Also like HBAR Foundry, all that kind of good stuff. There's a theme, right? Community organizations, grassroots organizations, open source stuff. Last week I also had a great conversation with Richard Bear. Great conversation, more like an hour and a half odyssey into the nitty gritty with Hyro. A lot of people were very, very excited about the news last week on Monday about Hedera. You know, we know that Hedera Hashgraph is open source already, but taking that open source code, moving it into the Linux Foundation, which is a first for an L1 DLT. And then that source code lives as a new project, Hyro, under the decentralized trust within the Linux Foundation. So lots of great things, easier for developers, easier for enterprises to develop, all that kind of stuff. And then the Hedera public network will be using the Hyro code base. So it all kind of connects. It's all part of this vision that, Richard Bear was kind of highlighting, has been years and years in the making. So a long way to get here. And really what we're focused on now as we look forward into Hyro is moving that actual source code. So that's the big challenge ahead. So I'd encourage anybody that's watching Hyro, that's what you're watching right now, is how does that code move to the decentralized trust under the Linux Foundation, and how does that technical steering committee evolve? That's the really important thing. Also, exciting news to see NFT ecosystem on Hedera kind of coming alive a little bit. We got DeadPixels drop 5 incoming October 21st, 800 HBAR. And a reminder, all the Ghost Pass, all the Ghost holders, and then all the Ghost Pass holders, they're all whitelists. So that's a really, really interesting thing. So I think this is going to be exciting. NFTs on Hedera, obviously DeadPixels being one of the lead projects there. So I'm definitely gonna be keeping an eye on that. I posted to Twitter, but I don't know if anyone saw, but I grabbed a new ghost recently. So go check out my profile if you want to see what ghost I grabbed. More fun updates. I don't know who saw this, but probably everybody, but Charles Atkins, the president of Hedera, really showing his meme chops when it comes to the ecosystem, meme coins, all that kind of stuff. So people aren't familiar with the meta here. Grelf is a meme coin on Hedera and also a frequent caller of the show. And the giraffe is something the community has kind of rallied behind. It was an idea from Grelf, and an actual formal grant was sent to the HBAR Foundation. It's been circling around, but the whole idea is, can the community procure a giraffe? I think that's fantastic. Ideally, a giraffe named Bertha. Brady, good to see you. And it's good to see this. And I mean, people look at this. If you're really on the outside of Hedera, or if you're not so much in the meme crowd, the degen crowd, you might look at this and go like, Charles, like, what are you doing? You're the president of Hedera. This organization governed, this public DLT network governed by major corporations, et cetera, et cetera. What are you doing? Why are you posting this to your Twitter? But the thing is that this is what marketing is about, right? The people that invest in HBAR, the people that are driving revenue on the network, it's people in the DeFi ecosystem, and DeFi at the forefront of that is meme coins and these different types of things. So this is a pretty common thing for crypto founders and leaders to do, is really embrace that sense of community, like appreciate what is growing the network largely. So this is great to see. I know that some people won't dig this, but to be honest, like, don't worry about it. This is just fun stuff. This is, God forbid we have some fun in this industry. So this is great to see. And it honestly, just speaking from the other side, this shows Charles gets it, you know, like he's speaking to the community. It's clear that there's a lot of support behind this, a lot of people going off in the comments. And I did reach out to Gerbert himself, and you know, this is something that is pretty organic. He saw this. I mean, Gerbert did send out this message through his machine. I honestly don't know how he has it hooked up in his stump, but out in the bog and the swamp. But he did send it. Obviously, took a long time to get to Charles. I imagine with the technology that Gerbert has access to, but he got it, and Gerbert was surprised. This is not some kind of coordinated thing between Grelf and Charles. This is literally just Charles posting a facsimile received by you know, by Grelf. So that's great. Yeah, Laser Eyes Giraffe. Yeah, honestly, oh, that was my comment. That was my comment to Rob Allen commenting Giraffe Squad. So Giraffe Squad, rise up. Let's go. Let's see what else we got going on here. Also, too, we've got a very interesting tidbit of info related to Charles as well. This was a clip from an interview that Charles gave at an event hosted by Orbis 86. Shout out to Sonia, who ran this panel talking to Charles. And she does great events. I went to one of her events in Toronto recently, and it was fantastic. But this with Charles was very interesting because, as Coinman points out, there's a clip from this interview, and Charles says something very interesting. And I just wanted to take a look at this really quick because I think that this is going to, you know, pique the interest of quite a few people in the ecosystem. So let's take a look into this clip from Orbis 86.
I think one of the interesting things is we're having conversations, and we've actually had other L1s reach out to us and say that they've built specific products on their chain, and then later come to find out it doesn't scale well, or that it doesn't have the security features that they had hoped to have, or speed and scalability that they need, to the point where there's some chains out there asking if they can actually lodge and build their products on Hedera now, which we're finding really interesting.
And right there, the clip is a little quiet, but what Charles is saying is there are L1s that have built applications on their networks. And this is a public interview, that have built applications on their networks that are now reaching out to Hedera saying, hey, can we migrate some of these applications to Hedera for that security, performance, stability, all those kinds of things. So that's a very interesting thing. And again, Charles, president of Hedera, it really gets you thinking, like, you know, who are those networks? What are those applications? And what do those relationships look like going forward? Is this a possibility where we see, the relationship between Hedera and other L1s deepen further, right? Even just beyond DREC Alliance and all these other different groups that Hedera is a part of. Very interesting development. So I wanted to highlight that clip. I think that should be on everybody's mind right now of kind of, what could that mean? Quick shout out to Earthlings as well. Earthlings recently sharing an update on their game and basically talking about how difficult it is to build a Web3 game, right? It's not the case that you can just, that you can just, slap on any game into a DLT like Hedera. You really have to put a ton of work into this, and it's not easy. Like they're showing here, like different particle effects they have, animals. But again, this is a project that's very interesting to me, and I think many in this ecosystem, because it comes from within Hedera, right? This isn't a gaming use case that's coming from somewhere else. They're really developing a lot of custom stuff, and most importantly, they have a strong community, a strong tokenized community. They've got a token out there, all these different types of things. So it's very interesting when we look at Web3 gaming. I think that narrative in particular is heating up. But when we look at Web3 gaming in Hedera specifically, Earthlings just jumps out as something that's fairly robust and pretty already kind of integrated and ingrained in the ecosystem. So shout out to Earthlings. I dig it. I see Brady is watching. He's leaving some comments. I know Brady will leave a comment about this, but this is a recent tweet from Brady, and I love this because a lot of people remember the in previous Karate Combat events, Hedera's marketing around it has been horrible, right? They sometimes they didn't even tweet during the event. This recent Karate Combat was great. They were active, they were tweeting, they were sharing clips. And I think that it not only did it contribute to the reach of Karate Combat for sure, but also it really like got the community so much more involved, and it didn't leave you with any bad taste in your mouth after the event, for at least from a Hedera community perspective. So it was great. Now, the downside is that there were some really great tweets that were posted by Hedera, as you can see in Brady's screen recording. Some really great tweets that have been deleted. And we don't know why, but we're figuring it out or they're figuring it out. It looks like some of the tweets that were deleted contain the cash tag karate. So, you think about Hedera legal and those different types of things. Unfortunately, it makes sense. But what Brady said here, I think they're getting it. So I think this is definitely something to keep an eye on. Got to keep the foot on the gas, encourage what we want to see from Hedera. And I think that overall, there's still a lot more to do, a lot more change to see, a lot more needs to be done when it comes to marketing. But I do have to say, excuse me, God, Ottawa allergies. I do have to say, the most recent event versus previous events, night and day. The commercial was better. Everything was good. So I think that like if we use that comparison, night and day difference. So shout out to everybody at Hashgraph and Hedera and all those, and HBAR Foundation, all those folks are really leaning into the marketing and in some fresh ways. Very needed and really, really good stuff to see. What else is going on? This was very interesting to some people. Again, I always say like some people, and I'm always thinking about the crypto space, but everybody in Hedera. This was, and shout out to HBAR Tata, frequent viewer of the show, sharing this post from Emerge VC. Tata shares, Dubai-based Emerge VC launches a $300 million fund to invest in AI and Web3, backed by institutional investors, family offices, and Web3 founders. They also just announced they've invested in Hedera HBAR because its Hashgraph technology offers unmatched speed, security, and efficiency. So as we can see, a little bit of out of left field, I didn't see a ton of heads up on this. Is this a situation where Hedera or the organizations are involved in some way with this? Is this just truly a random VC or investment group just checking out the ecosystem and buying some HBAR? Is the purchase done over the counter? We don't quite know what the deal is, but this is good to see. Not only have we seen outside investments in Hedera projects like Neuron, TuneFM, and MTech recently, but also now we're starting to see, okay, maybe some people are actually buying up HBAR as a investment in Hedera itself. So very cool to see, and we're going to be watching stuff like this pretty closely because it's very interesting. The one thing that we really need in this ecosystem is liquidity. We need outside money coming in. Hopefully, that is one of those things. Another very interesting thing, just quickly mentioning, MIOO, they have announced a new collaboration with Temporally London that's leveraging the Hedera network for tracking the life cycle of certain garments, right? Certain products. So when you look at the carbon offset footprint of different things, when you're tracking a product through its life cycle with MIOO Tech and Temporally London, this is what's going to allow the carbon footprint and I guess other aspects of a piece of clothing, a garment, through the life cycle, both when it's manufactured, initially sold, the secondary sale, like buying something off the rack secondhand. So this is a very interesting thing. And again, this is I get the sense this is a little higher profile, right? It's luxury items. They did a campaign on Times Square, these different types of things. So, and they're working with the HBAR Foundation. So MIOO, another one to keep an eye on. Absolutely. This was a great comment. Just to refresh folks on this, we talked about this on the show, but there's an update to it. So I shared this meme. I was like, "Don't send. I haven't associated yet." A familiar feeling that we have in the ecosystem. And Richard Bear responds, VP of Engineering at Hashgraph. Sounds like you need HIP 904. And HIP 904, of course, is the frictionless airdrops we've been talking about for a very long time. The ability to airdrop NFTs, tokens, what have you, to many people's wallets and not have to, communicate with them beforehand. Hey, can you associate this token? Hey, can you do this? It'll create a situation where these folks will be able to just accept those airdrops in a native fashion on the network, which is huge. I'm hoping to have Patches on the show again soon to chat a little more about this. But one side note, and I don't want to read too much into it, but when you make a Hedera improvement proposal, a HIP, what happens is you will list the different projects that are requesting it. Who wants this functionality, right? And we see some familiar projects. We see that, DEXs and wallets want this more broadly in the ecosystem, external Web3 users, and more notably some of these projects. We also see Rarible listed. Now, folks familiar with Rarible know how big that brand is in crypto. And so Rarible is requesting this functionality on the network. So worth noting, very interesting and exciting. And worth noting, this is the first breadcrumb that I've seen regarding Rarible publicly. So make of it what you will. What this means is Rarible wants this functionality on the network. That's all I can tell. Theo, thank you for tuning in. I am doing great today. Lots of good news to chat about. Moving on to a couple of our last news stories before we dive into Hashpoint with Brian from Hashpoint. UDPN, this one kind of came out of nowhere for me, but this is very, very cool. I haven't had a ton of time to take a deep dive in on it. Someone asks real quick, Milton, what is the ETA for HIP 904 going live on mainnet? I don't know. I know it's on testnet. I'm not 100% sure. The best way to know is if you go on the documentation and looking at the upcoming versions. I would check that out 100%. Don't even know if it's currently live yet. Might be, but I think it's on testnet. I think it's coming to mainnet soon. I'll have to double check